young woman named Emily was walking alone along a narrow dark street shrouded in thick darkness. Ominous shadows played on the walls, creating an unsightly atmosphere. Her heart was beating faster when she heard footsteps coming from behind. The footsteps were muffled, but the sound of their approach became more and more distinct. She turned around nervously, staring into the darkness. But nothing was visible. Her eyes roamed the gloomy contours of the buildings, but there was no sign of her presence. She felt a cold breeze permeating her to the bone, and a sense of menace flared up inside her. But the footsteps didn't stop. They kept following her, getting closer and closer. Incomprehensible whispers began to appear in her head, as if a creature hidden in the darkness was trying to convey its dark intentions to her. Emily's heart sank with horror, and her hands began to tremble. She quickened her pace, but the sounds of footsteps always remained in the immediate vicinity. Her breathing became more and more ragged, and the feeling of an invisible presence grew. In the end, she decided to run, but the shadow that was following her seemed just as fast and merciless. Fear gripped Emily when she found herself in front of an abandoned house. In the dark, he seemed even more menacing and creepy. She got inside, and then the sounds became clearer. Footsteps, whispers, creaking doors, all this penetrated her consciousness and made her panic. A young woman named Emily was standing in front of an abandoned house, from which sounds were coming, as if the building itself was awakening to life. She doubted whether to enter this gloomy maze or try to find another way, but something inside her beckoned her deeper. Taking a deep breath, Emily crossed the threshold and found herself in the forgotten world of the past. Her gaze swept the room in which time had stopped. Dusty furniture items, broken windows, and the smell of old age created an ominous atmosphere. She moved through the corridors, nervously looking around at every step. The creaking of old doors accompanied her path, and the echo of her footsteps was reflected in the empty rooms. She felt invisible eyes turning on her, watching her every move. Whispers, as if uttered by ghosts of the past, sounded in her ears, causing goosebumps. Passing by the old staircase, Emily decided to try to get to the top floor, because something told her that the secret of this place was hidden there. She walked carefully up each step, fearing that at any moment they might fail. Finally, she reached the top of the stairs and found herself in the gloomy darkness of the attic. But suddenly, moonlight penetrated through the cracks in the roof and illuminated one of the rooms. There, among the dust and dusty furniture, she noticed an antique mirror. With a hushed heart and trembling hands, she went to the mirror. She saw her own figure in his reflection, but something was wrong. There was a terrible longing in her eyes, and in her smile there was a sadness that she had never experienced. And then she realized that the mirror did not reflect her own image. It shows the dark side of her soul, which she tried to forget. Inner demons and fears became apparent, and she realized that this abandoned house had become a trap for her deepest secrets. She felt the past overwhelm her, and incomprehensible forces began to pull her deep into this gloomy mirror. The thirst for knowledge and answers awakened, and she met her other self, Emily, who represented her dark passions and sinister desires. It was her inner demon that had been locked in her subconscious for a long time. Now he was released, and Emily was face to face with her own darkness. Emily's inner demon, now released, has embarked on its grim mission. He began to explore her darkest fears and sinister desires, opening doors to forbidden desires that she tried to suppress. In an alternate reality where past and present merge together, Emily has witnessed her darkest fantasies. In this new reality, she has entered into a dangerous game with her own inner demon. They came face to face in a battle where darkness fought light. Her dark reflection provoked her, tempting her to fulfill all those forbidden desires that had long been hidden in her subconscious. At first, she resisted this inner call, but gradually began to explore her dark passions and desires. She learned about her sexual power and that she can control and manipulate other people. All her forbidden fantasies and revenge fantasies that she had never dared to fulfill became reality in this parallel world. Emily felt her consciousness darken, and the sense of reality began to gradually disappear. She lost control of her actions, sinking deeper into the darkness. Her light side began to fade, giving way to a ruthless and immoral dark reflection. With each step, each new wish fulfilled, Emily felt her soul becoming more distorted. She was sinking into the abyss of recklessness, unable to stop. As her dark reflection gained more power, she began to lose her own identity. Finally, Emily realized that she couldn't let her dark side take over completely. She realized that light and darkness must exist in harmony, and only then can she find true liberation. A spark of resistance was born in her mind, and she began to fight against her inner demon. Following the spark of resistance in her heart, Emily began to realize that true liberation lies not in succumbing to the dark side, but in accepting and overcoming it. She decided not to become a victim of her dark desires, but to use her power for good. Emily began to explore not only her dark passions, but also their roots. She plunged into introspection, deeply understanding what events and traumas in her life led to the emergence of these dark desires. She realized that overcoming her darkness requires inner work and self-healing. Through mountains of emotional trials and struggles with herself, Emily began to bring her bright side back to life. She found strength in her kindness, compassion, and love for other people. She realized that true liberation does not consist in subjugating her dark desires, but in transforming them through light and kindness. Instead of following the dark path of revenge and control, Emily decided to use her powers to protect and support those who need help. She became a voice for the voiceless, opposing the forces of darkness that tried to take over her life. Her journey from delusion to enlightenment has inspired many. She became a source of inspiration for other people, so that they too dared to accept and overcome their dark sides. Her story has become a symbol of hope and has shown that there is always a way to true freedom, even through the darkest stories.